My parents made me give them the $190,000 I saved for my dream because they said my younger sister deserved it more. They told me I was just the backup, but they didn't know I had already made a move before they took any money. I was always second in my family, the invisible daughter, the backup plan. My little sister, Emily, was the favorite from the start. I only got polite smiles and small praise. Emily got big celebrations for even small things. She got B's. She was doing her best. I got an A-. They asked why it wasn't an A+. I learned early on that if I wanted anything, I'd have to fight tooth and nail for it. So, I did. From the time I was 16, I worked babysitting, tutoring, retail, I clipped coupons, walked to school to save on gas, and never splurged. My dream was to attend a music conservatory in Europe. I'd been saving for nearly a decade, every single dollar going into that goal. By the time I turned 26, I had just over $190,000 in savings, scholarships, and side gigs combined. It wasn't just a dream, it was my escape. Emily, meanwhile, breezed through life. She'd drop out of one major, change her mind, pick up another, and somehow the tuition was always magically covered. My parents drained their retirement, took loans, even refinanced the house, all for Emily. They told me they couldn't help me financially, that I was independent, that they were proud of me for being self-sufficient. That pride vanished the day Emily announced she wanted to open her own boutique. Suddenly, my parents were staring at me over the dinner table with forced smiles. They asked if I could contribute, not just help, but hand over my entire savings. I thought it was a joke. I laughed. They didn't. They told me Emily had a real shot, that she had potential, that her business could turn into a legacy for the family, that my music degree was a pipe dream. They called it a luxury, an expensive hobby. They said I would still be fine. I always figured things out. I was, in their words, just the backup. Something in me snapped that day. I asked them if they were seriously suggesting I throw away everything I built just so Emily could play dress-up with a boutique. My dad said it wasn't throwing it away, it was redirecting it to someone who could make better use of it. My mom reminded me that family came first. Emily just stared at me with that smug smile she always had when she got her way. I didn't argue, I just nodded and said I'd think about it. What they didn't know was that 2 weeks before that dinner, I had already started moving my money. Quietly, methodically, I'd been getting red flags for months, comments about how Emily would benefit from a business loan, how my savings were just sitting idle, how they would help me later once things were more stable. I opened a trust account in another state under a financial advisor's name I met through a friend. I rerouted my main savings to an investment account I had locked with an early withdrawal penalty. I closed the old bank accounts I'd held since high school, the $190,000, completely inaccessible to them. But I played along. I let them believe I was mulling it over. I said things like, "I'll need a little time," or, "Maybe we can split it." It kept them at bay long enough to get everything secure. Then came the intervention. Yes, an actual intervention. One Saturday morning, I came home to find my entire extended family sitting in the living room, aunts, uncles, cousins. My parents stood in front like they were staging a performance. Emily sat beside them, dabbing her eyes like she was the victim. They said they were concerned about my selfishness, that I was being vindictive, that I was ruining Emily's shot at building something meaningful. They passed around pictures of her proposed store design, business plan, testimonials from her friends about how great her fashion sense was. My aunt even said, "You're holding the whole family back." I didn't cry, I didn't shout, I just stood there and listened. And then, in front of all of them, I said, "You're right, you deserve to know what I've done. Emily's dream is very important, so, I gave it all away." Gasps filled the room. My mother actually clutched her chest. Emily jumped to her feet. "What do you mean gave it away?" I shrugged. I said, "I moved the money, it's gone, not stolen, not spent, just moved somewhere none of them would ever see." I told them I had enrolled in a conservatory program abroad starting in 2 months. Everything was paid up front, visa secured, housing arranged, and since I was just the backup, I figured no one would miss me. The room fell silent, completely still. My dad was the first to speak. He demanded I undo it, said I was being impulsive, vindictive, that I was hurting the family. I told him the family never worried about hurting me. I packed my bags that night and left, moved into a friend's guest room while I prepped to leave the country. My mom tried calling me 23 times in the first week. My dad sent me emails laced with guilt and passive aggression. Emily posted a GoFundMe with a sob story about betrayal and how dreams were stolen from her. She raised $312. That was 2 months ago. I'm writing this from a tiny apartment in Vienna, sipping coffee after an early morning rehearsal. My days are filled with music, passion, and peace. I'm surrounded by people who value art, who see worth beyond dollar signs. And for once, I don't feel like the backup. But something tells me this isn't the end. I got an email this morning. Apparently, my parents just found out that their house is tied up in Emily's failed boutique loan. She defaulted already, and they want my help again. They still don't know what I've done next. The email was short, formal, and surprisingly polite at first glance. Hi, sweetheart. We hope you're doing well in Europe. We heard about Emily's loan issues. We'd like to talk about some options for assistance. Please let us know when you can call. Love, Mom and Dad. I didn't reply. The second email came 2 days later, less polite. Emily is going through a very difficult time, and it's affecting all of us. We know you have the means to help, and we think it's the right thing to do. Family comes first. Please don't ignore us. I still didn't reply. Then came the third message. No greeting, no pretense. You're being selfish. Emily is facing bankruptcy, and we are on the verge of losing the house. You're not the only one with dreams. We raised you. You owe us. That line hit me hard, not because it was true, but because it reminded me of who they were. People who only reached out when they needed something. People who never saw me unless I was useful. I remembered all the birthdays they forgot, the piano recital they missed, the nights I studied late with a candle because they wouldn't replace the power fuse in my room. I remembered Emily crashing my car and then blaming me for letting her borrow it. I remembered being told, "You're just more stable, you'll understand," while Emily got a vacation to Bali for graduating late. I remembered all of it. So, I wrote back. I said, "I understand things are difficult right now, but you made it very clear that I was not a priority. You took my silence for weakness. You assumed I'd always be the backup plan. I'm not. I'm living the life I built with no help from you. I have no intention of sacrificing it to fix your mistakes or Emily's poor planning. I hope you figure things out, but this time I'm not part of the solution." I clicked send and sat back, breathing deeply, feeling the weight of years lift off my chest. Within an hour, my phone rang. Video call from Emily. I don't know why I answered. Maybe curiosity, maybe closure. Her face popped up, red-eyed and full of fake tears. She started with the same song and dance. "We're sisters. I'm your blood. How can you be so cold?" I let her talk. Then I asked one question. "What did you do with the $75,000 loan you got from the bank?" She blinked, thrown off. "How did you?" I cut her off. "You blew it on interior design and inventory without even securing a proper location. You hired your friends instead of trained staff. You didn't do market research, and you ignored professional advice. You tanked your own store in less than 6 months and now want me to pay for your failure." She went quiet. I continued, "You're not a victim, Emily. You're just someone who never learned consequences because Mom and Dad protected you from them. Well, I'm not them." She stared at me. Her expression shifted from pleading to something sharper, contempt. "Fine," she hissed. "Keep your stupid money. I hope your little music dream fails. Let's see if anyone comes to help you when you're broke and alone." Then she hung up. I stared at the screen for a long while before locking my phone and tossing it on the desk. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sad. I felt free. 2 weeks passed without a word. Then one evening, my friend Max, who had helped me set up my finances, sent me a message. It had a screenshot from an online post. My parents had listed their house for sale, desperate to stop foreclosure. Their retirement was gone. They were drowning in debt. Emily had moved back in temporarily but was planning to relocate to California with her boyfriend, leaving them to deal with the mess. The comments under the post were brutal. People were roasting them for taking their daughter's savings and gambling it on a boutique with no plan. Apparently, word had gotten out. I didn't gloat, but I didn't feel sorry either. I spent that night composing a melody, one filled with tension, sorrow, and finally release. I called it the backup. My instructor cried when I played it in class. Weeks turned to months. My new life unfolded slowly, quietly, beautifully. I met people who understood passion, who encouraged creativity, who saw me. I performed in small concerts, made connections, and finally felt like I belonged somewhere. Then one day, I got a letter, handwritten, from my mother. She said they had sold the house, that they had moved into a rented duplex, that Emily no longer spoke to them and blamed them for everything. My dad was working part-time at a hardware store. She asked if there was any way we could start over. She wrote, "We were wrong. I see that now." I didn't reply. Forgiveness is powerful, but some wounds don't heal when the knife is still in someone's hand. A few nights ago, I debuted my first original composition series. The final piece was ironically called Golden Child. The irony wasn't lost on the audience or on me. After the performance, an older couple approached me. They told me my music reminded them of their daughter who left home to chase a dream. They said they were proud of me, even though they didn't really understand me. I smiled, held back my tears, and thanked them because sometimes losing something isn't as bad as what you get when you start standing up for yourself. When I chose myself, I stopped being just the backup. I became the main story.